Ladies and gentlemen, I've actually pulled this vehicle outside the road because I've received information that there were attempts on the life of Raila Amolo Odinga earlier today in Rift Valley. Raila Odinga was expected to conduct a series of political activities in Rift Valley, but from midday, it was clear that the residents down there were being incited against Raila Amolo Odinga. If you go to Kipchumba Murkomen's Facebook page, I'm just trying to get it. If you go to Kipchumba Murkomen's Facebook page, there's a post he made there, and I think I commented on that post long time ago. Kipchumba Murkomen was saying, if my friend Raila Odinga had informed me that he was planning a rally in Iten, Elgeyo Marakwet County, I would have mobilized for him. Siasa sio uadui. Now see the embarrassment he puts himself through by working with people who are rejected. And he shared a photo of Raila Odinga, of people who are waiting for Raila Amolo Odinga, some handful of people there. And in my comment by that time, I just questioned why Raila Odinga should actually go ahead and mobilize people to attend these rallies. If Raila Odinga doesn't enjoy the support of the people of Elgeyo Marakwet, why should he spend his money to mobilize them to attend these rallies? If those are the people who will vote for him, the better. Instead of spending millions to mobilize people to attend his rallies. And I was like, why would Kipchumba Murkomen share this kind of photos way long before Raila Odinga's arrival? Because when Raila Odinga arrived and the photos were actually shared by Raila Odinga's handlers, the reception was good. And then he went and addressed the town hall meeting, which was also packed. Then when Raila Odinga left the venue of that town hall meeting and he went to address people in the nearby center, he was heckled. And Raila Odinga could not even complete his statements. He had, for the first time, to stop his speech, and Raila Odinga left. Then Raila Odinga left there straight to the burial of his friend Jackson Kibor. For those who know Kibor and Raila, they've been very close friends. At some point, Kibor was actually the coordinator of Raila Odinga's political activities in the Rift Valley. And when Raila Odinga landed there, sadly, his chopper was stoned. The people who stoned Raila Odinga's chopper, according to the information I had, were instructed to wait until the chopper took off so that they could target the propeller. But that did not succeed. Instead, the windscreen of the chopper was hit, and Raila Odinga had to use an alternative means of transport from Jackson Kibor's home. So the question is, what was the objective of these chaotic scenes which we witnessed in Rift Valley? What was the objective? Because in politics, nothing happens out of mere coincidence. I want to assure you one thing, that as much as Raila Odinga might be unpopular in the Rift Valley, nobody can leave their home to go and heckle him. I've always said on this platform that in most cases, supporters would always disagree, but not a single supporter would leave his home to go and heckle someone unless someone abuses the person they support. For example, if assumed Raila Odinga went to Iten and started abusing Ruto, then in that case, people would heckle him. But we are witnessing a situation where people were clearly mobilized. And I've always said on this platform that William Ruto is a very shrewd politician, but I think this time around, the schemes failed. When Ruto came to Kondele, I'm sticking with this and I will repeat it again. William Ruto organized the goons to stone his convoy. Just like the same way, Jimmy Wanjigi organized goons to stone him right in Suna East. But today's event was totally different. This is someone's life. So what was the objective? If you follow the way politics of this country is taking, the direction is taking, Number one, Rift Valley is among the regions which are being monitored very closely by the security apparatus. The truth of the matter is that the security apparatus in this country had identified Rift Valley as a hotspot. They did this because of warnings which were being issued, or threats which were being issued to the Kikuyu nation in the Rift Valley. In fact, at some point, the Kikuyu nation in the Rift Valley was saying that they are going to vote for Ruto because they fear that if they don't do that, they'll be targeted. And the government has been assuring them that that will not happen. So the government has been trying so hard, and this is the truth, to set up several police centers in the areas they've identified as hotspot. You know, if you look at the relationship between the Luos and the Kalenjins, it has been good. But every election cycle, there's always a problem. Whoa, light has gone off. There is always a problem. And the problem is there's always tribal clashes which are sponsored. I don't want to assume that this is what these guys are actually planning this time around again. It is my hope that the tribal clashes will not be allowed in this country to thrive again. So that's number one. Number two, if you ask me, I also tend to think that if this was the plan, then the organizers have actually scored their own goal. William Ruto and his team have always tried so hard to portray Raila Odinga, the Luos and ODM as stone throwers, as hecklers. Now, with this thing which has happened, where do you think the blame will now be shifted to? The blame will now be shifted to Rift Valley, that they don't accommodate people. As a matter of fact, the fact that Raila Odinga's plane was hit and the videos are there is something which will really be a thorn on the flesh of the DP as he focuses on his campaigns in this country moving forward. Let me see if I can add light. Let me see if I can add light here. Let me just see if I can add some light. Whoa. Okay, this is okay. Okay, this is okay. I think this is better now. I think this is okay. So that's something which the deputy president will now have to carry. Rift Valley will now be carrying that heckler tag. And number three, we have volatile borders between the Luos and the Kalenjins. These kind of things can easily trigger those tribal wars. And in my view, I think it will have to take the Deputy President William Ruto and Raila Odinga to actually work very closely to ensure that we don't experience tribal animosity amongst the body. I come from Nyakach. We border Sondo. I know how the tribal clashes normally affect us. We share a market there, and that's where normally the war begin. So we should not allow such kind of nonsense to happen in this country when we are alive. So the president, William Ruto and Raila Odinga, must put this nonsense which we witness today to a stop. And lastly, I think the organizers of this stoning, because it happened twice. The moment it happened in Iten, and William Ruto and his brigades were attending the funeral of Jackson Kibor, they ought, in my view, to have talked about it. They ought to have sent a strong message to their supporters. None of them bothered to do that. So the truth of the matter is that these guys kind of are trying to provoke Raila Odinga supporters to react. So that the next day, William Ruto will be in, say, in Kibra, and his convoy will be stoned, and Raila Odinga will be blamed. Or William Ruto will then plan a rally. Like now, this is what I'm suspecting, that next week but one, William Ruto will be coming to Nyanza for his political activities, specifically now to provoke the Luos, because they had provoked them, to see how they are going to react. Then they can come up with a message that the Luos or the supporters of Raila Odinga are violent. So I tend to think that there's also the element of provocation in all this. But why heckle Raila Odinga in Rift Valley? Because if anything, Raila Odinga will not get votes in William Ruto's backyard. He will only get the few votes there. If, for example, in Marakwet, Raila Odinga might not even get 20% or 10%, why would he be heckled? The reason why these guys organize this heckling is, number one, politics is a game of perception. The last time they allowed Raila Odinga to hold a rally peacefully in Eldoret, it was a huge rally. That Eldoret rally gave Raila Odinga the momentum he needed to kick off his campaigns. They didn't want that momentum to happen again. And that's why as early as 8 a.m., paid goons were already at the venue where Raila Odinga was supposed to land. They were threatening people. They were singing, you know. So that's number one. Number two, they don't want Raila Odinga to address any gathering in the Rift Valley, because by Raila Odinga addressing any gathering in the Rift Valley, it means Raila Odinga was probably going to talk about certain issues which affect the people of the Rift Valley, and therefore they don't want those issues. And because they don't want those issues to be talked about, they had to stop Raila Odinga. And I also think that these guys did this because they were under strict instructions not to allow Raila Odinga to speak in Eldoret. I mean, in Iten, and also during the funeral of the late Jackson Kibor. My only worry is whether Raila Odinga listened to intelligence report and proceeded, or whether the intelligence didn't inform him. If he ignored, then I want to assume that Raila Odinga is now proving to be careless. Careless in the form that he must take issues of his security seriously. Without taking the issues of his security seriously, then Raila Odinga is likely to have a big problem. Thank you guys. Until tomorrow, this is Lee McQueen.